Are you ready for the lottery? Enter to win big. So if you're not familiar with the lottery, I first discovered it in 2019, which was about a year, I think, after I started making videos. So I've only seen it and participated in it one time. And like I said, that was in 2019. But the general gist of it is, and I will have the link below that explains it. So you really need to jump on this if you haven't. You've got till July. But what it is basically people volunteer. At least 26 people have to volunteer. And what they do is each person is assigned a letter in the alphabet. I happened to see the video a little late. He already had 26. I said, I went in. I took place with it in 2019. I volunteered, and I became number 27. And he assigns a letter, and in my case, a number, to each one of those people. And then what happens is people make the videos. He has a big drawing. The person who wins, each one of the volunteers, the 26, or in this case 27, each sends that winner a prize, a music-related prize, based upon the letter. It could be an album, a cassette, a CD, it could be a cup, it could be a shirt, anything music related. So, you know, you might send them a cup with Van Halen on it or something. So the thing is, the winner wins big. I think in 2019 when I took place in it, there had to be more than 30 people, that because I was another random letter, I think. But anyway, 27 people have volunteered, including myself, to send the winner a prize of our choosing based upon the letter that we were assigned. So enter, because if you win, you're going to get 27 prizes. And that's 27 more videos you can make opening those 27 prizes. Anyway, I'm not going to go rambling on too much. The video is below. If you haven't seen it or don't know what the lottery is, listen to it. It's great to see that it's coming back. Instead of the end of the year, it's usually more of a Christmas present thing. Because of 2020 being messed up, this one is actually starting a little earlier in the year. So I think the prize is, I forget the exact date of when it ends to actually draw, but it's going to be a little earlier than usual. This year's theme is VCLT, Vinyl Community Love Train. It's all about love. Now, we've talked about this recently. I recently did a video on VCLT. People have brought those up as threads, as contests, things along that line. And if you've never received VCLT yourself, you can still make a video. You'll see Bobby's suggestion in the video that explains the contest. But you can come on and say you haven't received it or complain about it. But think about it. If you win 27 pieces of technically VCLT. So you want to be in on this. Doesn't hurt to make a video. And of course, if you win, you get a lot of great stuff. Enough of that. Let's jump into it. Again, it's VCLT related. In this case, he wants to see us explain our excitement when we had received VCLT, kind of relive that moment, and in the case, which I'm going to be doing, which he suggested, is show video clips of past VCLT videos that I did do. Now, there are multiple types, in my opinion, multiple types of VCLT. A lot of times you'll get stuff that you really wanted to fill slots in your collection, but maybe was not something you were aggressively going out after. In my opinion, I love those because you've done work for me that I don't have to worry about. You filled in something that I eventually wanted to get if I ran into it, but chances are I wasn't going to aggressively go after it. Then there's the stuff that thrills, that just blows your mind. You never would have expected somebody to send you something like that. You never would have expected to see something like that, or it's a band that you really, really love and you're just so thrilled about it. In this case, I'm going to be showing a little of both, because there has been some times, and I'll talk about it in a minute, where you get stuff that maybe you're not even familiar with that turns out to be a thrill. And that's the kind of stuff that I love. I love when people share their love with me, only to come to find out that I didn't know that I was going to love it, and I do. And I have discovered a lot of great things like that, and I'll talk about that in a second. One of the earliest VCLT releases I got, and I'm going to have a clip of this, was one that really meant a lot to me because it was something, it's a soundtrack for a movie. I'm just going to show it to you here, Phantom of Paradise. I showed this, I think, in a recent video. I received this. It's a movie that I grew up watching as a kid. I loved the movie, and I had the CD, and somebody said, hey, there's a copy of it on vinyl at the store, and Beth picked it up and sent it to me. Here's the video. Beth had popped up commented on my comment, said, hey, I know of a store in town that has a copy in good shape. I'll check it out and see if it's still there, and et cetera, et cetera. And I said, oh, that'd be great. Anyway, that's really the last I heard. Unbeknownst to me, some reason, there was some more conversation added later. I was even tagged in it, and I don't recall ever seeing it pop up in my messages. So I was totally oblivious of the follow-up where she said, I got it on hold, I'm going to go check it out. And then she asked me for information for me, and I didn't respond. Probably thought I was brushing off. I don't know. So I did. I received it. Phantom of the Paradise, the soundtrack. So in this case, this was just, it thrilled me because it's a soundtrack that I love, and somebody was able to find a copy that I had not run across in the wild as of yet myself, and it filled a gap and thrilled me at the same time. Now, up next is a threefer in the sense that these not only filled a gap, I probably definitely would have eventually picked these up, but of course when you get them, it's that much more thrilling because somebody has went out of their way to get them to you. And I had told stories about these in the videos that I showed. So we're talking Billy Joel. This one came to me in a box from Steve at Value Vinyl. He sent a bunch of things. This would happen to be in there. One of my favorite cherished albums as a child. I told the story of how we found this in somebody's curbside garbage. They had put a bunch of stuff out. They put some albums out. I had found this, and I fell in love with the album as a teen. Loved it. Went on to love a lot of other Billy Joel. And then shortly after that video, because I think I mentioned wanting this other album, then I'm going to show a video for this too. I was sent two more. This being my all-time as a child growing up. My parents bought me this for Christmas, I believe, and it's the one album I wore out. And then I went on to love pretty much everything that he's done up to this point, maybe a little after, but for the most part, everything prior to this is all the material that I have on CD. So yeah, great stuff, and it's to fill in a gap of stuff that I would eventually get. Here's a video. Yesterday, I got a box in from Value Vinyl. First one up, Billy Joel, The Stranger. This next one is the one that I wasn't expecting and have no clue what it was. And this is from, this is from Red, and I don't have a clue. And then another that I am a fan of, and these two I do not have, and he may have heard me mention one of these, this one. Well, Billy Joel, An Innocent Man. This is one of my favorites. It's probably one of my top 5. And then this is, yes, my all-time favorite Billy Joel album, Glass Houses. And then you have those things that fill in maybe spots that you didn't really intend to fill in, or you know how you got those bands that you know a little about, you grew up, you kind of knew some of their hits. Well, that's what this is. And so I had actually picked up the one album by them that I was very familiar with at a store, and I knew that I needed to get the one surrounding that album because I knew some of the songs between there, here and there. And so I actually got two that were surrounding the album. And so Scott Waters sent me these, and it's funny because I told the story in the video how I had just the week before picked these up in a store in the budget bin and almost purchased them, but then chose not to because I'd purchased a bunch of other things. And then all of a sudden, you know, a week or so later, they show up on my doorstep. Got a package here from No Life Till Metal. So we got some from Scott. Now, a little back, this can be an opening here. I haven't opened it yet. Knife. It's a multi-purpose tool with a little package opener. All right, April Wine, Harder Faster. This was the other one. All right. Yeah, this was an animal grace. This was the other one that they had. I was trying to remember the name. So that's funny because yeah, both of these were in that in the more inexpensive bin. So I grabbed them at one point, but then I put them back, like I say, because I bought some other stuff that day. Then there's those times, and this has been the case with the at least 2 times that I recall, where Steve at Value Vinyl had to come into a massive amount of extra records, just fall head over heels into a deal where you end up with more records than you should have, and so he shares the love by sending a bunch of people records. And in some cases it's random. In some cases there were times where, you know, we got to pick and choose, and so you get albums that you really want, and then other times you just take a random chance. That ends up being exciting because now you're discovering new music that you probably would never have picked up on your own. In this particular shipment, there were 2 items in here that when I saw them, I'm like, wow, these are great because I really would want these. And that's when he sent me a copy of the Eddie and the Cruiser soundtrack. I love this movie, love the music involved with it. And then Sports by Huey Lewis. It's probably his most popular album. I like all of the early Huey Lewis stuff, maybe from the 4th album Beyond This and prior. The first 2 albums are, and this one, are probably 3 of my favorites. And then some of his other stuff is pretty good. But those are the ones I'd like to eventually all get on vinyl at some point. And then, you know, like I said, great soundtrack here. Now, the box that these came in was filled with a bunch of other stuff. Bands that I wasn't as familiar with, knew by name, but have come, I didn't want to drag them all out, but have been listening to frequently. Bands like the Grassroots, the Associates, the Lettermen. There were just so many in that package that I probably may not have given much of a second glance at, just because they're common, you know, but maybe not something I knew as much about. Bread, the best of Bread. And then you play them and you're like, wow, there's a lot of songs in here I knew that I liked. And so, yes, just great stuff. Filling and thrilling into an area that maybe you didn't even know you were going to eventually want to be thrilled with. So, got a box in the mail. If you watch Value Vinyl, his channel, you notice quite often that Mrs. Value Vinyl joins him to assist with handing out when he goes through lots of records. So I brought Mrs. McRockmack here. So I drug her into this just to be my Vanna White of records. So we got the soundtrack to Eddie and the Cruisers. This.
We listened to this in our car the other day.
Exactly. So, okay, I would have to say this is the highest score in this box. I love Huey Lewis. Okay, up next is a couple, and now, of course, anybody that knows me or watches my channel for any length of time knows I am basically stuck in the 80s. I am a classic metalhead from the 80s. So anybody that sends me anything classic metal, you pretty much know you're going to tickle my fancy regardless. And that's what Steve at Harmless Rebel did when he sent me a copy of Heavy Pettin'. It's the only one I have of theirs on vinyl. I do want to get the rest of theirs. I have them all on CD. So yeah, when you send me something like this that you had an extra of, I am going to be super thrilled. Steve over at the Harmless Rebel, if you haven't checked out his channel, please do. He shows a lot of great stuff. He showed or said something that caused me to say something, and he said, hey, I have an extra copy of that. Shoot me your address and I'll send it out to you. Heavy Pettin', Lettin' Loose. Likewise, when it comes to somebody along the lines of Tesla. Now, Tesla was one of those bands back in the day when they're in their heyday. I heard the hits on the radio and, you know, whatever. Never purchased their stuff. They kind of came out in that time frame where I was not listening to this as much, but I knew the hits. This album is a great album. I was glad to have it. It's become a great favorite. I even went out and bought one of their other albums the other day, the Record Store Day one, which I will be showing. It'll be showing up in a couple of days. But now I'm on the lookout for more of their stuff because it's one of those bands that kind of gets by you and you kind of knew, but now you got them in your collection, you feel kind of compelled to continue to pick up some of their stuff. Anyway, this came and from Randy Weaver, and it was just a thrill to have something because it was the first Tesla I had in my collection. First up, I got some VCLT in this week, which was very exciting. If you follow Randall Weaver, about a video or two ago, maybe 2 videos ago, he showed some VCLT and he showed a Deep Purple album that I had sent him. Well, the other day he got it and did the video, and then he reached out and said, hey, I got a couple 80s hard rock metal type albums that he doesn't, you know, listen to as much. First one up is Tesla, Mechanical Resonance. Okay, and finally there are those that come in and they're a super thrill, first off, because you really want them. Second off, you can't believe that you got them. But even beyond that, they're brand new when you receive them. This means that somebody has went out in some way or fashion, has procured a copy of an album brand new in the shrink wrap and has sent it to you. Whether they went out and purchased it or ended up with the duplicate, it doesn't matter. The point is, you got a brand new album that you really wanted. I mean, it just heightens the amount of love that you feel. And that's the case with the first VCLT I received that was actually a new item, still in the shrink wrap, and that was from Marty over at Puddle Glums. He, long story short, he ended up with the extra copy, and he sent it my way. And you know, box sets like this, all the ones that Rush has been releasing, I really want, but they really just not cost effective in my pocketbook. And so I doubted I would ever get one unless it was way down the road, used. And so to get one, and to get one that's one of my absolute favorite Rush albums, blew me away that I could do that. So thank you so much, Marty. This was just a great VCLT. And again, one of the first ones I got that was an actual unopened item. So it was really, just blew my mind. Anyway, I had some VCLT come in yesterday. Marty over at Puddle Gums Music Collection, check him out, I have a link below, sent me this, and it was just more than I could have ever expected. But look at that. I got Rush's Permanent Wave. It's the little box set with the 3 albums. And the second one, which is an unopened item, which actually was purchased, it seems, directly for me, and was one of the more recent VCLT videos that I did make, came from Josh over JC's Flipside. And, you know, this was a Frank Marino. This was a Record Store Day album that came out a couple months ago. As I've told in the story of the video, I purchased so much on Record Store Day that I had to pass this up. I was fearful that I may not ever get it. I have seen it again locally at one of the stores. You know, the price was a little more than I wanted to spend, and then I picked it up one day and almost bought it. Good thing I didn't, because the very next week I got it in the mail from Josh. So this is some VCLT from JC, from Josh over at JC's Flipside channel. He did notify me this was coming. I have no idea what it is. Really? Oh, look at this. Frank Marino Mahogany Rush. Now this is a Record Store Day release. Awesome. Now this, I passed on it on Record Store Day because I had gotten all of the other big name stuff, and it had cost me a lot of money. Again, it's thrilling when you get something that not only you've had your eye on for a while, but it's brand new. So it's, you know, it's just something that somebody has actually went out of their way to purchase for you. Every piece of VCLT that I get, that I have gotten, every piece that I've gotten so far has been a thrill, because it's either stuff that I needed, wanted, didn't know I need, but I'm glad I have, or new music that I had to discover that I am thrilled now to have in my collection. Like I said, I've listened to stuff I probably never would have purchased, but people have sent me stuff that I'm like, I'll give it a try, and then I've fallen in love with it. That's great stuff. That's the mystery VCLT type stuff. And then the stuff that you really do want to fill in slots are super thrilling when you get it from someone, because it just shows that people are going out of their way to pay for the postage and all of that to get this item to you. And it's a great time. So yes, this lottery, you need to enter and get loaded down if you win with 27, at least 27 pieces of love. Anyway, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Rock on and rock hard.